Hello everyone. I was out trout fishing last week, and for the first time this year I ran into trout rising to blue-wing olive mayflies, an early hatch in my area at this time of the year. I reached into my box of small dry flies, and in the corner saw an example of this fly, a Thor Cripple. Cripple in this case refers to a mayfly that's struggling to get off the water as it transitions from a nymph to a dun. Might be stuck in its shuck. It might have some problem unfolding its wings. Again, it's the idea that trout as predators recognize struggling prey and take advantage of that. The Thor, as nearly as I know, is the fellow who developed it and was a fly shop employee in a shop near the Bighorn River in Montana. Bighorn flies tend to be very effective in our Midwestern spring creek fishing because the bighorn, in the final analysis, is a great big artificial spring creek. So many of the same kind of flies that work well there will work well in any kind of spring creek fishery. The fly is a pretty straightforward piece. We've got a Tiemco 100 in size 18 in the vise. The dubbing is 8/0 olive. The tailing fibers are from Grouse. There's fine brass wire and CDC wing. The CDC that I'm using is from Trout Hunter in a light dun. Trout Hunter seems to me to package the nicest CDC out there. So let's get a fresh hook in the vise and see if we can't tie one of these things. This hook has been previously debarbed. Get this centered up here. Find our bobbin. We'll start the thread about 1/3 of the way back and just lay down a base of thread. This will help us secure the tail. We'll make a couple of turns here. That'll help separate the grouse fibers as we tie them in and give it just a little bit of a puff rather than just a simple clump. There's our grouse. We'll strip those off from the feather stem, measure them for length, about roughly shank length, I would say. We'll take one soft wrap there and see what we think. That might be just a little long, so we'll go forward just a tad. Yeah, I'm liking that. And we'll bury them. And while we're up here, we'll tie in our fine gold wire. You do see people tie these with a heavier wire in copper and so on. The idea being that helps tilt the fly down into the water. But I don't know if that's strictly necessary, for one thing. And secondly, I just like the looks of the gold. We can kind of create something of a tapered body here as we go too. A few passes back and forth. We'll wind our fine wire. Trap that, come back over it a little bit. And then with this fine wire we can just helicopter it off. Our next step is this is really nice dubbing. This I think I bought this at the Chicago office store a few years ago when I was in town for my nephew's wedding. This serves two purposes. It represents the thorax of the mayfly, of course, but it also serves as kind of a wedge to pin the CDC against. I'll show you what I mean by that in a second here. Our CDC feathers, I've grouped 3 of them together here. You should use at least 2, and and use the best quality material that you can find. I think the magic in CDC, you know, this might be a little heavier than the Naturals insect wing, or a little more prominent. I think that's okay. I think that the magic in CDC really lies in the way that it moves around. You know, when influenced by the breeze or the currents or any such thing. You'll notice that it extends out over the body of the fly. That's fine. That's what we're looking for. Then we'll take just a little bit more dubbing and prop that wing up a little bit. It's probably going to be, as my father-in-law used to say, a great plenty dubbing. Yeah, too much. Let's see if we can't strip a little of that off. There we are, that's better. We got a couple of stray fibers that we'll get rid of. We'll throw a quick whip finish on this fly. Sure we will. There we go. Because of my fumbled whip finish, the head got just a little messy here, but we can clean that up. And lastly, we'll just reach in and trim these, being careful not to get the wing itself. We want to leave that little puff behind there as well. You can see from the bottom how natural that looks. We're a little out of balance here. I don't think the fish will care. My color rendition isn't perfect either. This is the wing is actually grayer than it might appear on your screen. But there we have it, a finished example of a Thor Cripple. I think you'll find it an effective fly.